Implant dentistry has gone through many innovative changes over the past few years, and one of the most prominent is CT diagnostics. We can now use a CAT scan for three-dimensional implant treatment planning and actual surgical placement of our dental implants. Today's patient had a unique situation. She had periodontally involved maxillary anterior teeth. She had significant bone loss around these teeth and mobility. And her main concern was that she would not be able to function for any length of time. She knew she was going to lose those teeth. But a bigger concern was her aesthetics concern, meaning she would have to come into the office, the dentist would have to remove her teeth, and she would leave the office either with nothing, which was not acceptable, or something removable, which was equally distasteful to her. So as she came in, she wanted to determine if we could immediately place implants and give her some immediate restoration of her maxillary 4 anterior teeth. So a CT scan was completed on this patient using a guide. This guide has gutta percha embedded in it and is used to establish a plane for the CAT scan. A CAT scan is then done, and using the Nobel Guide CT scanning software, we were able to create a three-dimensional image for this patient and actually virtually place our dental implants in the patient prior to any surgical intervention on her. So we made three-dimensional models, and we determined whether or not we could place implants in the anterior premaxilla. And we found that we could successfully place the implants, allowing ideal separation between the implants and nice depth placement of the dental implants. We would place 3.5 millimeter diameter implants in the lateral incisor areas and 4.3 millimeter diameter implants in the two central regions. However, Nobel Guide tells us that placing implants in immediate extraction sites is a difficult, if not challenging, endeavor. We knew preoperatively that the roots of the teeth had resorbed significantly, so we felt we would be obliterating the sockets completely in the placement of the dental implants. But first and foremost, we had to design a surgical guide that would allow us to correctly place the Nobel BioCare dental implants, replace select dental implants, in a relatively tight area. To do this, we would create a surgical stent in the dimensions regulated by the parent company, but the challenge would be the metal sleeves or rings that would allow us to place the implants in the correct position. How could we stabilize those rings appropriately to use it as a surgical guide? The acrylic that was used would be an overlay similar to a bite splint. It would have to be stable, not move, and allow us to position the implants correctly. So let's look at our patient right now. This is the preoperative photograph of her high smile line. The lateral incisors and two maxillary central incisors are fairly mobile. She has some real concerns with aesthetics and function. She'll tell you that she would not be able to bite into a breadstick or feel comfortable going to a restaurant. She felt that she was going to lose those teeth shortly, which affected her emotionally. Right lateral and left lateral views show an adequate smile line. We do see the triangles of the teeth, which is aesthetic. Her basic contours are not bad, but we can see a certain amount of recession along her natural dentition. Our focus today is going to be on the 4 maxillary anterior teeth, number 7, 8, 9, and 10. You can see in this radiograph that the roots have shortened immensely, creating the mobility that our patient was most concerned with. As I mentioned earlier, we weren't necessarily concerned after extraction of those teeth to place implants in those socket sites because we would obliterate those sockets completely. The CT scan was very, very important in this case to determine whether or not we could actually do this case successfully and predictably. And being able to virtually place the implants and determine prosthetic position is a tremendous advantage. We were no longer guessing on where we wanted to place the implants or guessing where the final restoration would be. We knew it all before we ever touched the patient. This view shows the palatal aspect, and you can see that a dentist had splinted those 4 anterior teeth to her cuspid teeth to give her some stability, but those teeth were fairly mobile. After the CAT scan was completed and the Nobel Guide CT scanning software was used, the dental laboratory actually fabricated a model. Again, this is prior to me ever touching the patient, to determine the correct position or ideal position of the dental implants. Again, 3.5 millimeter replace implants in the lateral incisor areas, and 4.3 replace select implants in the 2 central incisor areas. This is all done preoperatively by our dental laboratory. We would use transitional abutments in this situation. You can see they're conical in shape, which would allow us to place our final transitional splinted crowns the day of surgery. So these are transitional Nobel BioCare abutments that, again, this is all done preoperatively by the dental laboratory. They are determining ideal position for ideal final aesthetics of the final crowns. Here the dental laboratory fabricated 4 transitional crowns that were splinted together that would be placed immediately after implant placement, surgical placement, using the surgical guide that we'll illustrate more clearly in a little bit. So the dental laboratory has a very important role in determining final aesthetics. Now, we wanted to use the patient's own natural incisal lines and basic contours in determining length and position as possible with the amount of bone that we had. Here we're using a periotome to simply break the periodontal ligaments around the teeth that we are going to extract. And let's run a little video here. On the extraction, we want very careful extraction. We take a lot of time in removing of the teeth so as not to disturb the buccal plate at all. We have a nice clean extraction, trying to, again, maintain the interdental papilla as possible. We're simply removing those 4 mobile anterior teeth with the shortened roots, and you can see I'm not having any difficulty at all simply removing these teeth. We will not use a scalpel in this situation. Again, we're trying to maintain that interdental papilla as much as possible to maintain our final aesthetic results. Nice, clean extraction. And you can see after the extraction we have viable bone to work with, very shallow socket sites, so I feel very comfortable in the placement of our dental implants. We have pretty good width also because it's an immediate extraction situation. The buccal plate is really intact and should turn out to be a nice situation for us. Interdental papilla, trying to maintain those triangles as much as possible, is a critical part in the final aesthetics for this patient. Here the radiograph illustrates the extraction socket